Conservation, yes, it's a conversation about conservation of the environment. In most cases, we say this is a conversation that we should have constantly. Always remind ourselves of how important it is for us to take care of the environment, because it's the only way then it will guarantee us a safe space, a safe home for that matter. And so Marta's environments are very dear to him, and not just to him, but technically every one of us. And it is important for that from specialists we are able to pick up some of the key points that would help us, in our own special way, on special space. The smallest thing that you can do to preserve and take care of the environment. And so that's what we'll be discussing this morning. We sometimes say we do not want to delve deep. We just want to constantly remind you of the basics that need to be done. And even as we talk about the basics, I think it's important, first of all, we tell the guest good morning. Happy New Year. We're with you the other year.
Thank you so
and
much.
We're happy to have you again.
Thank you. It's a pleasure coming here and getting a moment to talk to our viewers.
Right.
It's a pleasure.
Speaking of a pleasure, just what is the importance of us preserving or taking care of the environment?
In the real aspect of the way God planned life.
Right.
And a most recent event is when he had to actually take the animals to the Noah's Ark. He didn't pick the good guys, the big guys, or he picked everything. So everything that is living today deserves to live. We shouldn't, as humans, be the one to witness the extinction of an animal, even if we hate it so much. Because we may want to say that it's not good, but it may be serving a gatekeeper function in the environment.
Okay. Deep
in the bush, where an animal that would have brought us a disease is eaten by that animal you don't like.
Right.
And it is that break, there's a break in that transmission of that disease, and sometimes the disease does not reach us.
Oh.
But in some instances, like now when we are talking about COVID, the disease reaches us from an animal that we don't know.
Okay.
And we really know that it's really hit us, more than 100 million people infected. So it's not something you can wish away. Biodiversity is very important. All these years, COVID has been living because it's not an creation.
Yes.
But it never reached us because there was a barrier. The biodiversity is maintaining that barrier.
Okay.
Yeah, and us avoiding going too much into the environment and then entangling ourselves with some aspects of nature that is not friendly. Like when you start eating primates that could have diseases close to ours, you're actually exposing ourselves. So the biodiversity means let everybody have his space.
Their own space.
And according to the Bible, we've been told what to eat and not what to eat. And we've been told how to treat carcasses, how to maintain that distance between ourselves and some animals that would be not very friendly to us.
Yeah.
So that is what is necessary.
Okay, well, that's a good one to look at it. You make it sound like it's so easy, maybe because you are an environmentalist, but it would not be as easy as it looks for a majority of people. Sometimes we do not know, well, this is a barrier we should not cross, or well, this is actually what it is that we need to do. Well, I do not want worms in my house, and so in that case, I see worms, I'll make sure that I try my level best to, make sure that they're not there. I don't want flies in this case. On basic terms, just what procedures or just how do we go about it to ensure that, well, the environment is well protected, that we're not crossing the barriers, that we still have what it is that needs to be in a certain space at that particular time, and we do not get to that point of interfering?
It's that humans have lived in this world for many thousands of years.
Yes.
And so there are already norms that we know. And up to very recent, about 200 years ago, we didn't use chemicals to control other animals. And so we kept some space between ourselves and animals or pests that we thought were not good for our animals.
Right.
And so what nature has generated over time is that there are controls, natural controls that can take care of those nuisances like the flies.
Yes.
You also have time, just a time difference between when you go out into the bush and when mosquitoes are coming out.
Okay.
There's that balance.
A natural
balance.
Okay, all right.
We call them circadian cycles. So if you are away from the bushes at night, mosquitoes may not get you.
Okay.
You'll be covered in your house with a mosquito net, not you spraying.
All right.
Because the moment you spray your bedroom, your lungs are bigger than those of the mosquitoes.
So you will be
you're
affected
actually inhaling more
Okay.
of that chemical than the mosquitoes. And there could be only 2 mosquitoes in that room that keep on buzzing. But you're using so much chemicals to do that, to control that. What you expose yourself to is chemicals that accumulate in your body. Sometimes they just lodge in your fat molecules in the body, and they later on become an issue to yourself. Such chemicals are the ones that trigger things like breast cancer, because there are chemicals we manufacture that tend to accumulate on fatty molecules in the body. And so as they live there, they can't leave the body because the fat molecule is absorbing it and keeping it there.
Okay.
It remains in your body for years. And at one time, your DNA starts wondering, what was this guy was supposed to be doing in this body? And in one moment, it is incorporated in your protein. And that protein now becomes cancerous. Because cancer is the formation of abnormal or nonsense proteins in your body. And this protein, because the body doesn't know how to change it, because your skin changes every 90 days.
Okay.
Your liver also changes every 90 days. But there is a chemical here. The body doesn't know what to do with it. It keeps on multiplying it in your body, and so you say you have a lump. Okay. A lump is a protein with no meaning to the body, but sometimes it takes up so much space, you actually have to go to hospital to have it removed. So when we understand small steps that we could avoid to protect our bodies, we actually have a better position to defend ourselves.
Well, times have changed. We are in that world that we were not in some times back. Technology is here, industrialization is on the rise, the manufacturing process is on the rise, use of chemical on the rise. In as much as we would want to be cautious and say that, this is what we can do, just how possible is this? How sustainable can that be?
Thank you. The truth is, like I said, chemicals have only been around for less than 100 years. Okay. For example, the most used product, the antibiotics, they were just discovered in the 1940s, meaning we have less than 80 years since we started using antibiotics. The chemicals we manufacture, like the plastics, the artificial chemicals, we call them artificial because nature does not form them naturally. Those chemicals, like detergents, disinfectants, most of them are chemicals manufactured in the lab. They end up in your body, and the body looks at them and it says, I have no idea what this was meant. I don't know why Linda gave me this, but I'll keep it until she gives me some instructions. Okay. If I don't get any instructions, kama tu hapo kwa compound yako, you have a spare tire, you remove the tire, you put it there, and sometime when visitors come, and they are kids, you give them to learn and love with it. Right, yes. You are just purposing it, it's not meant for that. Okay. You are repurposing it, but in your body, such experiments are very expensive. Chemicals that land in your body and are not utilized can become very expensive when the body starts using them for other purposes. It is dangerous to imagine what chemicals are doing to our kidneys, for example. A kidney is used to taking out urea, some proteins, nothing difficult. Then one day you give it a chemical that it doesn't know whether it's a protein, it's a fat, it doesn't even know how to, whether it's to go to the store or out. Okay. That confusion renders our kidneys ineffective. Right. And that's why almost 5% of the population is in need of an extra kidney. Okay. 100 years ago, we didn't have that. So humans have the chance to do an audit and say, on this list, we will keep this and we will not keep this. Okay. We've taken out some chemicals like the DDT. it's a big name, but the acronym is enough. DDT was discovered around 1940, and it was used around the Second World War.
Okay.
But by 1960, we had known that it is causing problems, because once it's in your body, it accumulated. Once it's in the insect, then the bird eats the insect, then the chemical accumulates in the bird, and the bird again is eaten by a domestic animal.
All right.
Again, it's more in the, we call it bioaccumulation. It accumulated so much within those 20 years. It was noticed that so many wildlife species had actually just disappeared from the planet and never to be seen again.
Extinct into
time. Yeah, it became extinct. So if we could take out DDT, let's take out the other chemical that we know has that tendency. And there's a lot. Our chemistry libraries have a lot of information on what chemicals are dangerous. I normally talk about naphthalene. Naphthalene is very innocuous, it's very innocent. Okay. It's a diasaduco. We use it as mothballs. Yeah, the mothballs. Okay. The mothball is a very innocent chemical when you look at it. Okay. But let it get into your body. It reacts with more than 220 chemicals in your liver. And whatever it comes up with, there are so many variations of it. Naphthalene, or the benzene ring, we call it the benzene ring, has been used for making so many of the plastics because it forms chains. Okay. But in your body, it forms chains with the wrong proteins in your body, and it forms extra tissue. Naphthalene is accused for causing the lung cancer because it is a candidate in the cigarette smoking. It's one of the chemicals. So if we could take out, and we've taken out cigarette generally out of the equation, we have not everybody is taking cigarette as a luxury product. So if we can be doing that, but now become a serious society, everyone in the world identifies what seems to have a problem in their community, and we take out those chemicals. Okay. There are not very many. They are just, we know them. Some people have described them. There's a lot of literature on that. A lot of Nobel prizes have been issued on chemicals identification and their effect on the humanity. But we've just thought that's just another project. Okay. That's another thesis by Leader did, and she came up with an idea.
We are not keen
but we don't see
the
impact on our society. So by so doing, we already know about heavy metals like lead, chromium, and stuff. If we know that those chemicals are bad, get them out of our food chain. Okay. And we live a better life.
Speaking of which, I think we've touched on some of the key things that need to be done, but maybe it would be much better if we categorize them, probably look at a larger perspective, and then I would ask, are there types of environmental conservation procedures, and would we name them? Would we highlight that this is how it is done, this is different from this, and all that?
The most impactful approach to avoiding chemicals in the environment is what is called organic farming. Okay. Because agriculture has spawned so many chemicals. In our attempt to protect our crops from insects and other microorganisms like fungus and bacteria, we have used so many chemicals. Some of them that we have an overkill effect. Yeah. After even from last year, we have realized that we don't need so much chemicals to actually control a virus like COVID. We only require sanitizer, which is alcohol at 70%. Okay. We've not talked about a funny chemical that is required for control of COVID. We have just gone to soap, which is more than 200 years old. Alcohol. It was there during the wedding at Cana. Yes. So it's not something new we are using to control COVID. There are chemicals, you go to some of the chemical vendors in town that have so complex names and structures that even the one selling doesn't know the impact of it. But we have not used it for control of COVID. We have not used it for even improving our lifestyles. So can we go to those basics? we identify the basic chemicals that we need in our environment by what's called organic farming. We need to identify what other agents we can use. For example, what we promote as a waste management protocol. It's a bacteria that is so natural in the environment, and it does so much that you avoid those chemicals you normally use in your toilets. You avoid using mechanization, chemicals that are used for industrial waste management, and at the end of it, we have a very natural environment that does not affect other living organisms, because when you use natural systems, there's a very low likelihood of residual effect. After you've done with the waste, using a biological material, it will just go back to its seat as a natural member of that ecosystem. It does not continuously accumulate downstream, and it does not affect other life. So that's what I would propose. We use natural systems for waste management. We use natural systems for control of weeds. Kenyans, we have pyrethrum.
Yes.
We were at one point producing 75% of all the pyrethrum used in the world. But even us, when these artificial chemicals came, we actually stopped growing pyrethrum and started doing some very difficult chemicals like the DDT to try to control insects. Yet God had given us an opportunity to actually use pyrethrum. We are now going back to the natural sources of pyrethrum, which is a very natural. Within hours, it's out of the environment, and you are back to, after you are taken care of the insects, you are back to natural settings, and you don't keep on killing anybody.
All right, well, that's an interesting one and a good one to note. Would not want us to be a bit more intense on this, but in most cases when we talk matters climate, we talk matters environment, we do not fail to speak about global warming. Would we touch something small on that, the effects, the impacts, and just how best again we can also address this, because that it becomes a global concern.
Indeed. When you look at, again, about 200, less than 200 years of human occupation of Earth, when we've just become industrialized, we have come up with chemicals and procedures that are very bad to the harsh to the environment. We've come up with the modern toilet. The modern toilet is actually one of the threats to our existence. I'll explain.
Why? The modern toilet,
where you want your waste to disappear. And one way of making it disappear is you bury it under some concrete embankment with no oxygen, and you don't want anything visible from your toilet. And that becomes a source of methane gas. By very design, you have actually created methane producing systems, yet we are not recovering that biogas for cooking. So it's there at the back of your plot where the waste goes. It generates methane gas, and that's creating global warming at a rate of 21 times more than carbon dioxide. Then we have said that our waste should not be spread out. We should put a centralized waste treatment system like what we have in Ruai. Our waste now, again, when you bring a lot of waste together and there is no oxygen, or the microorganisms used in that kind of waste management are anaerobic, they generate methane gas. I've gone to slaughterhouses where in the morning you can put to light the wastewater treatment plant, and you go up in frame. All over, actually it's all over. The designs we have for waste in the slaughterhouse is a methane generating system, an anaerobic system. But we don't capture the gas because most of these slaughterhouses are very far away from settlement. So that methane gas is being generated because you have brought a lot of waste in one point. In natural setup, one Masai Manyata would slaughter a cow and they would distribute the meat to everybody else. And so there will be no waste accumulation because the next slaughtering will be in the next Manyata. But now we have brought all our industrialization to even matters like slaughtering. When you slaughter, you give the waste, you keep it in one small space. The methane gas generated And that volume is daily being released to the environment is what's causing us the green global warming. A lot of accumulation of methane gas. And methane gas, unlike carbon dioxide, no animal uses it. So once it's in the environment, it's there forever. Okay, it has a half-life of 500 years.
Oh.
Meaning, what you produce here, if you produce a ton of methane gas at one of the slaughterhouses, it will be 500 grams, it will be 500 kilograms, half the volume in 500 years.
Wow.
Yet carbon dioxide would have been okay, because carbon dioxide is always deposited into trees.
Okay.
And when we grow trees, we are able to recover carbon dioxide. But when you hear people talking about global warming, they are mostly focusing on carbon dioxide from my vehicle, from your jiko, from farm, someone burning the farm material so that he can prepare the farm for the next season. But carbon dioxide has never been a big issue if we can be able to plant more trees.
Yeah.
However, like I said, the society has ignored that part of waste management at industrial level, at farm level, because waste at the piggery is also deposited in a place where it generates methane gas, and that's what we actually targeting. Going forward, you have to look at the methane gas more seriously than carbon dioxide.
Well, all right. This can get a bit complicated or technical, but also we'd want to know, and one again would look at it as though it's really not a necessary question, but I think you will allow me to question this. Just what is this difference? Or just what is the connection when we speak about the environment, in environmental conservation, we speak about the climate, and now again, in connection to global warming?
All of those are one thing.
Environment.
The environment is where global warming is happening.
Yes.
The environment is what is, but not you.
Okay.
I'm part of your environment.
Yes.
The camera here is a part of your environment. So when you think that everything outside yourself is the environment, then whatever happens, whether the person, your neighbor, whether the town near you, whether the municipality near you, whatever they are doing becomes your concern. That's your environment. Someone is messing with the environment if he's burning garbage, if he's generating methane gas, if he's discharging waste into the environment. Then what waste can cause, can create climate change? Yes. Climate change is caused by that aspect of, on a daily basis, when more heat came in yesterday than that which left the Earth surface overnight. So that balance of energy coming in one day and the other night, the energy disappearing. The reason why energy is not disappearing from the Earth crust or from the Earth's surface is because there is that methane gas, there is carbon, there is naphthalene we talked about earlier. All those chemicals that we manufactured, they have gone and accumulated, formed a blanket over the surface, about 16 to 25 kilometers above surface, the ground. And when heat comes through during the day, like he said, it was very warm.
Yes.
At night, all that heat is supposed to go back.
But instead,
and we lose it. But instead, what's happening is yesterday's heat is still there, even in the morning. You really saw it even when you're going for a walk in the morning. Because there's too much heat that didn't go back into the outer space. Okay. And that is what we call global warming. Global warming is a one-night thing, one day, one night imbalance. When it goes on for a longer time, and if that heat actually starts melting the polar ice or in the temperate areas, you lose that the ice cover, and it comes to the rivers and the oceans. Now that's climate change. Whoa. We have lost the ice cover, even that are used for storing water, and then the water has come to the ocean. And so the ocean rises by a few inches. And so where you have been going to Mangina seafront, where you're able to go and swim, becomes flooded. Now that's what we call climate change. And the effect of climate change is that most of our coastal regions in the lower areas of the continent will be flooded.
Okay.
And our lakes also will be flooded.
Will be flooded.
Because there's more water in the environment. That explains why our lakes are swelling.
Okay.
There's more water in the environment, and when it rains,
right.
the world is so tired of carrying this extra load of water, it just deposits it in 15 minutes, and there's no time for it to be absorbed into the rivers, into the hillside. All of it ends up in a lake.
Wow, and now I think I understand. I am glad we had this session because the other time my colleague was covering that story on how things are, you know, in Naivasha and Lake Baringo, it wasn't looking so good. Most of the people are struggling right now. And such has been the case up to, I mean, now, and you know, one would just want to understand what really happens there, Irene, for such an occurrence to be there. And so I think in a way I have also understood that. And I know there's so much that we can talk about in matters environment, preserving the environment, use of plastics and all that, which I think you will be honoring our set you know, constantly, so at least we can delve deep into that and we get people understanding. But in your own special space, that is as yes, I'd love for you to tell us what is this one thing that you do that helps in preserving the environment even as we come to a close.
Yeah, thank you. As an environment expert, I came up with a product called Gotv, which is a bacteria natural system for wastewater management, where we take out the chemicals normally used for waste management. Yes. We take out mechanization, where you use big motors and equipment for turning waste, just turning waste to give it, to allow it to get into access to air. Yeah. We came up with a bacteria culture called, we describe it as facultative, meaning it can work in both the deep end of the waste where there's no oxygen and on the surface. And in both cases, it eliminates the formation of methane gas. That is our input into the environmental management in the world.
All right.
And this is not just for Kenya. No other country has adopted that approach to waste management using a bacteria that actually can handle the two ends of the waste management. Remember me saying that the septic tank is one of the sources of global warming. Yes. When we introduce Gotv into a septic tank, we actually take out the methane gas.
All right.
And so that's what has informed our government through the Kenya Climate Innovation Center at Strathmore to adopt and create they are mentoring our company through their officers to help make this product a national product. That's how far the government of Kenya can go. But I'm also working with the United Nations and also the Rotary International in trying to promote this new thinking of waste management that takes out methane from the process of industrial waste management, farm level waste management, domestic waste management. And through that, we are going to achieve something that had not been envisaged in the last few decades, that we can actually take methane out of the equation of global warming. And that's what we are going to do.
Incredible. Daniel Wanjuki, the CEO, EcoSave Africa. And like I said, sometimes we need to be particular, and maybe in stages then we'll be discussing this aspect of conserving the environment. We know very well that it is a global concern, as I started by saying. Most of the people getting worried as to the pullout of the United States from some of these agreements that have been there. But then again, a review of the same also in talks or in progress. And so we come to the light of just how important it is for us to take care of the environment. And for the great insights that we've had this morning, we are grateful. Unless there's something else you'd want to add, I think on that one then we can close it.
That's okay. On the aspect of environmental conservation, Kenyans need to look very seriously about our rivers.
Oh yes.
Our rivers may just be ready to take out another trash of waste, another kind of trash. Yes. But when you go to the rivers, you actually see that the burden of what we are doing is quite serious.
Yes.
And our livers actually are turning with shame because of what they are throwing down with.
I know.
We have added stuff. And like you said, there are chemicals that we need to identify and take them out of the equation of waste management, or even our personal grooming.
Yes.
I don't see the need for people to use naphthalene balls, because in themselves, there's a long story about how damaging they are to the environment. They are also good when we make mattresses, like the padding we're sitting on. But let there be a protocol for control of such. There should never be a situation where you go to a supermarket and you buy a pack of naphthalene to use in your house, yet you know it is dangerous to your body. It is going to be harmful to the people who might use that water downstream. Those are things I would wish Kenyans avoided. I would also advise that if you need to use a chemical that controls bad odor in your compound or your waste management system. Project Gotv Africa, we've got very good structures and designs and chemicals like Gotv that can help you take out.
I'm glad that we're being watched across all the counties. And for pit latrines, I think what it is that you're offering then would really come in handy. Is there a number that we can use to reach you?
Yeah, we have Gotv, which you can use in a septic tank, in a pit latrine. Takes out flies, bad odor instantly.
Yes.
It takes out the volume of waste accumulation and allows that water to percolate to the ground and disappear completely. We can be reached on our phone line number 0721 27 9688. I repeat, 0721 27 9688. Or you can visit us on our website, ecosafeafrica.com.
All right.
Where you'll get all the information you require. We put the information you can actually work on your system without even getting back to us, but improve on it, and that is what we are giving back to nature.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Daniel Wanjuki. And I always say, most of my mornings, that is a second segment, which I always term as my favorite, because then we have special conversations different from the usual ones that are making news. And in most cases, you find that in such conversations, people are able to get remedies, to troubles that have been, disturbing them, or troubles that have been, giving them tough moments. And so in this case, I'd want to believe that any of the person who's watching this morning would be able to get help out of this. But remember, what's important is that in your own special space, you have to go out there and protect the environment. We close it at that, but not before reminding you that tomorrow is Friday. We're walking into the Valentine's weekend, and we have goodies for you courtesy of Morning Cafe. UIP, that is an entity that deals with matters land, real estate, and setting up of structures. And so UIP is awarding you